everybody. Doing another review and recap here today of the Halo show. This is episode 4 I just watched. I literally just watched it, I finished watching 20 minutes ago, and I'll still probably manage to forget things. This episode had some really cool stuff in it. Overall, I was a bit disappointed. And like I said, there's spoilers in this, so you might not want to watch or whatever, but right out of the gate, I'm going to say the whole episode, no fucking Covenant at all. There's just, I'll get to the coolest parts that involve Covenant stuff, but there's no, physical Covenant. Unless you want to count some fucking hunter worms in a jar, but disappointed. I was hoping to see some good Covenant action. I'm hoping episode 5 focuses more on the Covenant. Now, this episode has 3 separate things happening. As at the end of the last episode, Halo Chief, Master Chief Halsey, that other guy, scientist, I don't know his name, Cortana, they all go to his home planet of Arendis, or whatever he calls it, because of his visions from touching the artifact. They want to find the second piece. So, they're doing that. Second thing that's going on is Quan and Soren make it to Madrigal, and she's trying to beef up the resistance again. She wants to get the resistance going again. That's happening. And the third one, which is actually probably the most interesting of the 3, is Kai 125, one of the other Spartans. She's the one that saw Master Chief remove his emotion pellet, whatever they're calling it. Once again, there will be spoilers throughout this. She has removed hers. She saw what she was interested in. She removed hers. So now she's expressing things I thought it was blood at first, but it was, I guess, some kind of stuff she uses in her hair, so it's part red. Now her and the other 2 Spartans are doing stuff with Miranda Key. She's, researching the other artifact, and she wants them all to touch it to see if they have the same response that Master Chief does. They don't. And then they start talking about other stuff. Kind of how Halsey's a fucking asshole, you know? And she cares more about the Spartans than her own daughter and shit. And then this was just the coolest part. I'll get to the other stuff too, but this was my favorite part. The one, Kai 125 picks up a needler. She's like, oh, this is my fave, because they have the arbiter body, I should say, as well. There's some hunter worms in a fucking big jar. And they have other Covenant stuff in here. This is the research fucking thing, right? Area. But she picks it up, she's like, this is my favorite weapon, and they give the actual name for it, what the Covenant call it, I forget the word. And, she's like, yeah, they put the things in here, and they somehow go after, tissue and shit, and it explodes. That was really cool. It looked fucking cool. You also saw a plasma rifle, I think, in the background as well. But Kai 125 knows the language, and she's like, oh yeah, this. Miranda Key's like, wait, that word. What is it? And all of a sudden, she's like, oh yeah, I know some of the Covenant words, because Keys is like, wait, you guys have been around the Covenant the most. Why are we not talking to you about learning more about the Covenant? So they do that. They talk to her, and they're now trying to decode that Covenant message. So they're hanging out now, Kai 125, and Miranda Key's like, you're acting human. That's kind of weird. And then she goes on to continue to kind of bash Halsey as well for not giving a shit about anything else but her work and what her vision for the future is, and how she wants everything to kind of be her vision of the future. So that's going on. I'll get back to that in a few minutes. Master Chief shit's going on, and honestly, this is the most boring of the 3 things that are happening in this episode, in my opinion at least. He's digging up places at his old house. There was actually one cool scene here. I'll get to it. Cortana's not in this episode much, a little bit, which is a shame because she's honestly probably the best part of the show outside of me, for me personally, except me wanting to see more Covenant action. It really is the voice that, makes you like, oh yes, what you remember from the games and stuff, but they're trying to find it, and they find his drawings. That's what was buried by his father in the previous episode in the flashback. Oh yeah, real quick. There's a flashback at the beginning of all the Spartans doing some training when they were young. And Master Chief, Halsey talking to Master Chief because he's like, yeah, you tried to escape again, and he says all this stuff, and Halsey's like, no, you're the best, blah, blah, blah. So they find his drawings, and they go into his house, and Cortana's like recreating. He actually puts the helmet on for a little bit in this episode. And you actually see a Razorback, too, that they're driving in, which is cool, but he's got the helmet on, so you see that stuff, and you get a cool shot of, like, his face in the helmet, and you see part of the helmet. I kind of like that kind of angle. And Cortana's, like, recreating, based on, I guess, his, like, memory and stuff, the rooms. And she can't recreate this one area because it's too fucked up, and then it's just John remembering this stuff and having visions. Cortana's not doing anything. And he sees Halsey when she's younger there at his house, so he didn't know that until he sees it in the vision. He's like, he didn't remember that until then. But he sees in his vision his younger self going where he touches the artifact the first time. Now, I rewound the scene and paused it because he touches the thing and it does something and he runs away. But on the wall, you see, like, I don't know if it's a Covenant picture or it's a Flood picture on, like, the wall, kind of. I thought it was something. I rewound it. I couldn't tell. It was like a face kind of looking thing. Maybe someone else saw it. Could tell me what they thought they saw or what they think it is. It might be a Flood thing, but that's going on. I'll get to that, more of that as well. And then the Marticle stuff. She's back here. Fincher, that's the guy's name. Bad guy. He's going around, kind of. He's the heavy hero who's like, keeping people in line or whatever. And she's keeping a low profile, of course. Soren does get some pretty good fight, decent little fight scenes, very little short stuff going on here. He loses his ship, so he needs to get another way off. And then Fincher hires a hit woman to take him out. An assassin, I should say. A hitman, hit woman, an assassin is so there's a scene there too, and she actually, Quan meets her aunt. Here she was looking for eventually. They go to her dad's like service type thing, and the bad guys show up there, and they have a little fight scenes there. Soren kicks a little bit of ass, and the assassin comes, takes out the aunt, so Quan's upset again. Soren shoots the assassin, Franco, I think she was called. She goes out the window, disappears, and then they're fighting, and then there's a little bike scene chase, and then they're off, trying to get the fuck out of there. And that's the end of that. They set back with Master Chief stuff, and he eventually remembers where he went to a kid, so they go there. And, he tells Halsey, he's like, you were there in my memory, and she's like, oh, fuck, because Master Chief's looking around his house, remembering this stuff. Halsey's getting nervous, because he's like, oh, she's like, oh, fuck, he's gonna remember that I was here. And she fucking kind of is just like, oh, your memory is weird, so you're thinking things that probably didn't happen, Trying to fucking manipulate him into not thinking that she was actually there, like, physically, not just something he's misremembering. So what happens, eventually they find the artifact, the second part of it in the cave area, and then I think that's where, no wait, it didn't end there, it ended on, Kai-125's hanging out with Miranda Keyes, and she's giving her more information on Covenant words, so they're trying to translate stuff, and she's like, wait, ring, it's a ring, and then Kai-125's like, she's like, Halo. So they kind of know, oh shit, there's a ring here and stuff. And Miranda Keyes like, you're acting human. It's weird. Like, your thing with the hair, maybe it's just an act of rebellion or a glitch. But she's like, she's like, let's keep this between us. And Kai-125's like, yeah, we're like sisters. I'm like, where are they trying to go? Like a romance here or something? I don't know. Because now Kai 125 is like experiencing feelings and emotions again, but she's like, maybe it's just a glitch. And he's like, the thing about Halsey is she doesn't tolerate glitches. Pretty much saying like, if she finds out about this, she might fucking eliminate you, Because Master Chief won't get eliminated because that's her fucking baby. That's her fucking pet, She might get rid of another one, maybe not. But that's going that way. I thought it's kind of funny that she picks up the Needler and like, oh, this is my favorite weapon from the Covenant. And one of the other guys, the other male Spartan's like, have you ever heard a grunt beg? It's pathetic, so they mention grunts again, and then they say they have the best tech, because obviously they do. And it was funny holding the Needler, because spoilers from the Halo games, in Halo 3, I'm pretty sure Miranda Keyes gets killed by a Needler, by one of the prophets. Kills her with a Needler. I think it's a Needler that kills her. I could be wrong, though. I can't remember. So that's happening. That was kind of interesting. I like that because it was Covenant related. And I need to see Covenant in the next episode because I was fucking disappointed, man. I don't know if like budget constraints kind of are keeping them from not showing a lot of Covenant shit. Because that probably costs more money to do. Out of these three, like I said, I might be missing stuff even though I just fucking watched it. I think I've gone through most of the episode though. Out of these three plots that are happening, Master Chief's honestly the most fucking boring. This episode was kind of fucking boring, actually, overall. I like the Covenant-related stuff. The Marticle stuff was alright, too. There's a little action in it. Master Chief stuff was kind of boring, but it had some alright parts to it. I'm really hoping, though, that the Covenant fucking shows up again in episode 5. I wanted to see the fucking Covenant, just seeing the Needler and shit, and the other Covenant-related shit. I'm like, come on, man. I feel like I'm more interested in seeing the Covenant and more of their story than the fucking humans at this point. I'll admit, this episode overall was fairly boring. It started to pick up as it went on, but I don't know, at least Master Chief was in his suit. Of course, the helmet was off a decent amount, but it was nice when he has it on. And even though he kind of looks out of place too in full armor, it does look cool when he's in it. But the voiceover of Miranda Keyes saying, she doesn't tolerate glitches, talking about her mom, Halsey, that ended as, as she finds the piece of artifact again. Halsey's excited. She's like, ooh. I need to see. I need to see some Covenant stuff. I really do. I was disappointed in that. And there was a little bit of action here and there, but I don't know. This is probably the 2 episode was kind of weaker. This one probably wasn't on that level, but this is like a 6.5 too. It's just, this shit needs to start picking up, and maybe I'm just like fiending for more action, but I want to just see more Covenant in general too. I just want to see their side of things and how they go about their shit, But I don't know if they're trying to like, even though you saw Arbiters, and I almost want to go back and watch the first episode so I can see the Elites, not Arbiters. Keep calling the Arbiters one dude. I want to see more, go back and see the Elite again, because I want to see more shit related to the Covenant. It's kind of getting annoying. I don't know, and I think it's just moving it too much of a snail's pace, in my opinion. That could just be me, and just wanting stuff to happen. It wasn't a bad episode either, but I think I'm just like fucking now in my own head. Now I'm building up, like people who are pissed right out of the gate because they've changed so much shit up in terms of Master Chief's attitude and all the bullshit. Not his overall attitude, but the fact that like, oh shit, now he's experiencing all these feelings and shit. It's kind of different, but it's like they're just moving along on these. I think there's gonna be too many things fucking going on, at once. But I want to see more Covenant so bad. I would say this one maybe not as... 2 was probably the weakest of the 4 so far. Like I said, if I had to retrograde that one, I'd probably even go like a 5.5. This one's more like a 6.5, but... I need to... For the fuck's sake, just do something with the Covenant next episode, you know? That's the problem now, though, the way they're doing this story. It's so focused on Master Chief stuff, and now the side plot with Quan and her plan and getting the Resistance back together. I guess Soren something to do, but then you have that. And now you have this other thing with Miranda Keyes, now Kai 125. They might be doing, like, things behind the scenes, too, as well. I don't know, but they mentioned something, too, like Halsey. They all got pets, and they play these games, and your pet would be eliminated, or if you lost, and shit. And then like, one guy's like, yeah, I never lost. Oh, and she's like, Miranda Keyes like, oh, you kept your pig, because he had a pig as a pet. It's like, no, they killed it. Halsey doesn't want you having any attachment other than to your group of Spartans. I was like, yeah. So they kind of paint Halsey as like that fucking asshole kind of scientist, you know, but I don't know. It's funny how I'm more interested in the Covenant shit than I am with this other shit. Or give me the fucking Flood, get them onto the fucking ring. You know, they're getting onto the ring in probably the last episode. I'm thinking this game is, because a lot of people are like, oh, it's faithful to the thing. I mean, yeah, there's things that are faithful to it, sure, but there's a lot of it that obviously isn't. Which, whatever, but I'm starting to think once they kind of get to a ring and it really becomes Halo, that it might follow more of a straight line path of the games. I think it will be different, but I think it's going to be a little more faithful than, you know. But I don't know. This episode bored me for a bit, and then it started to pick up a little bit. I perked up with seeing the Covenant weapons and all that bullshit, but a little too slow paced for a 4th episode. I mean, I think they got 9 episodes, so there is plenty of time. You got another fucking 5, 6, 7, you know, another 5 episodes. To do some stuff, so I'm hoping stuff starts to happen soon, because honestly, they can't have another slow-paced episode in a row. That's my opinion, because I think you're going to lose people at that point. But they found the second artifact, so there's that. And now stuff's happening related to the ring. Everybody's like, oh shit, ring. And you can obviously have action with the Quan and Soren stuff as well, so I just, you know, maybe I'm just I just, you know, want that Covenant stuff, you know. And every time I don't see it, I'm going to get a little more annoyed, but that's on me. Overall, okay episode. Slow, boring at times. Definitely some cool stuff in there, but I don't know. I think they need to start to get this on the fucking move here. Like I said, if they get to the ring, it's going to be the fucking last episode of the season, probably. It's going to be like the cliffhanger. Oh my god. Either the cliffhanger is going to be, holy shit, the Flood just appeared, or maybe the Covenant destroy Reach, maybe in the last episode. I don't know. I'm hoping. They don't give you, at least on here, maybe find Mel's where they don't give you previews of the next episode. I want to see, like, maybe you can find it on somewhere, but I don't know. I'm gonna go 6-5 here. You know, I'm gonna go 6 on this one, fuck it, because I would go 5-5. I would retrograde that other one to 5-5. I'd keep the other ones where they were. This one's more of a 6, slightly better than that one, but I don't know. You know, I think I'm so, you know, from playing the games and stuff, you're so used to just action, and when you're like, come on, man, I understand it's gonna be a story, but it's like, come on. Because even last episode, outside of, you know, the blessed one with the fucking 100 worms, there wasn't much going on either, so I don't know if budget constraints played a part in some of this stuff, but we'll see what happens. But anyway, yeah, that's a review and recap, episode 4 of Halo, and thanks for checking us out, and have a good night.